Well, welcome to Progressive Rock Central and the Noble Shire for Progressive Discussion. Today we welcome Cairo, the band from the United Kingdom. I've got Rob Cottingham and Kat. They're here to talk about their new album, Nemesis, which was released back on May 5th of this year on Spirit of the Unicorn music label. It is a fantastic album. This band is hot. I've seen some pictures lately of them on Facebook. They've got some shows they've been doing together. And please, if you don't have this or haven't heard it, I don't know how that's possible. But if you haven't, give it a try. It's very good. Do you guys want to say hi?
Yeah. So ladies first, actually, Kat, I'll let you go first.
Hi, thank you for having us today.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us, Mark. It's great to be here, and we're looking forward to our chat with you very much.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about the evolution and creation of the band Cairo. How did it get started? And
Yeah, sure. So this is back in, so as you know, I was with Touchstone, formed Touchstone back in 2002, and then left Touchstone in November 15 was the last gig, and I formed Cairo in February 16 actually, and that was when I got together with Paul Stocker, our superb bass player, and then he and I then found James Hards, who has sort of like Porcupine Tree type influences. So he's young and fit and has hair. He kind of has these influences, which is great, and his father is into Pink Floyd, I think, so that was good. So James hopped on board, and then Graham, who I actually got in touch through Kim from Touchstone. Yeah. He loved Touchstone, and so he happily jumped on board, which was great because he's a fantastic drummer. And this took us to August 16, so that's when we actually announced the band, and that's when I found Rachel as well, Rachel Hill, the original girl singer. And so most of the writing at that point I had done. So I'd written most of the album, and it's kind of in parallel to forming the band, if that makes sense. And we then released Say in October 2016, and that went down a storm, to be fair, and we won the best newcomer at the Classic Rock Society the following March, which we were really surprised because the album hadn't been out that long. The polls are in November. The album had been out about a month. And there were some bands that were longer established, but still quite new, you know what I mean, and than us. And we just thought, well, one of those will win it. So we were chuffed as anything to win that. So that was great. So Say went down really well as first album. And I think the idea with Say was really to push some of the harder edges of the music, but also have a sort of more melodies in terms of the vocals and harmonies and so on and so forth. And in terms of Cairo, the name, as a by the way, I'll get asked this one because only once I formed the band did I realise there's a UK prog band called Cairo from the 90s, and that there's also a Japanese band called Cairo, and there's an Irish band called Cairo, and there's a Northern England band called Cairo. Nonetheless,
there was one in the 90s in San Francisco area, Bay Area.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Those are not dissimilar to ELP, I've heard. I've never heard their stuff, by the way, but that's what I heard. So don't want to cause any confusion, but it actually came from a poster in Euston Station. I wanted, because Touchstone had 2 syllables, I wanted a 2-syllable name, so it's not too much bother. A nice 2-syllable name, and I was going down the escalator at Euston Station, and I saw this poster, and it said, "From Cairo to Constantinople," and it was this exhibition of photographs in Buckingham Palace. And I thought about it, and my wife and I had been to Luxor in Egypt many, many years prior. And when we did that, we went on this fantastic balloon trip. And this balloon trip was getting up early in the morning in the dark, going in a rickety old van over a little bridge over the Nile. And then as the balloon went up, so the sun rose, and you had this epic vista over the desert, and you had the Nile underneath. And so, but the other thing is, I'll try not to go on too long. The other thing is that we went to these little tombs in Luxor where it was very cold and intimate and isolated. And so that rang a bell with me, as I thought, I really want to capture something which is from very, very small and insular and introvert to something which is vast and epic. because I think that's what the music tries to capture when we do it. So that's why the name Cairo sort of came up, and so we've
Brilliant.
started it. Yeah, that's the origins of it. It literally came from me going down the tube at Euston Station in London.
No, there's a lot more into it. You just described it. That is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Good
it.
choice. Great choice. All right. And just a
Yeah.
little bit on this album, on Nemesis, you had Sarah Bailey singing
Yeah,
vocals.
yeah. So
And now
yeah,
you
so we've had a few
transition.
transitions. Do you know Doctor Who? You know Doctor Who? And
Absolutely. Oh,
how he always changes so often. We've had a bit of that going on. Hopefully not anymore. But we had so Rachel. Yeah. So Rachel left just before we actually did our launch gig, which is a real shame because she did a brilliant job on the album. And Lisa stepped in, who's a blonde young lady you'll have seen on some of the live stuff. So Lisa stepped in, did a great job. But then I'd say what family commitments came along for Lisa. So she left in crikey, I can't remember what it was now, 4 years ago, let's say, May of 4 years ago. And then Sarah joined not long after, and Sarah was introduced to the band by Paul, the bass player, because Sarah was in his covers band. And she came in, and so she'd obviously been with us for 4 years and did a tremendous job on Nemesis and tremendous job live. But then, to be honest, she had a lot of commitments going on with one thing and another, young family, all that stuff. So we parted company very amicably only a few months ago, and that's when I found Kat. Now, Kat, I actually noticed Kat at a choir performance locally to where I live, because in fact in that choir was a friend of my wife's. My two of my daughters actually are in the choir, and but Kat did what I call lead vocal. Maybe call it the posh words Kat a solo performance, but anyway, solo performance. And Kat stood up front of the choir, and it's a bit like when Kim auditioned for Touchstone. I remember it. It was Industrial Unit, and Kim sang, and I got drawn into the tone of the voice. Well, exactly the same happened with Kat, which is that I was, you can be surrounded by 300 people, but then not be surrounded by 300 people, to get drawn totally into the music, into the tone. And Kat's voice, sorry, Kat, but it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And I just made a mental note. I just thought, well, if ever anything happens, I'd love to speak to Kat about joining the band. So Sarah left, and I say all very amicable. And then I sort of had a look for another singer, and just got in touch with Kat through wife's friend, Caroline. And thankfully, Kat didn't tell me where to go. So that was handy. In fact, Kat, what was quite handy as well, I'll let Kat speak in a minute, but was that we'd had Glow out, the single Glow, and we had that lovely Crystal Spotlight video. And Kat had been listening to that, and she said she loved the song, and so that kind of helped as a bit of a opening of the door, as it were, into discussing the band and the music and so on and so forth. So maybe we'll hand over to Kat really now and let her talk about that bit, maybe.
Yeah, no, it was quite out of the blue, like you say, when you called. But I was just really intrigued and like flattered really that you'd like the performance. And prog was very new to me, but I got hooked in quite quick, and got started listening to the albums, and
I mean, the funny thing is actually, is I noticed at the time that Kat was wearing what I thought were black leather trousers, and I just thought she was a rock chick, right? In my own stupidity, she looks like a rock chick. She might be interested. Yeah, no, not really. But I mean, actually, Kat's got really eclectic taste, haven't you, Kat? And so you do like rock music, you like lots of other stuff, so very broad. But no, it was just really fortuitous actually that Kat enjoyed the music and joined the band. And I have to say, Kat, you joined the band, and it just feels so natural and easy with you, and your pitching, your length of note, all that sort of stuff it's perfect, spot on. So that's partly why, Mark, we want to get a single out with Kat on it. So as you know, Nemesis was out 5th of May. And about a month ago, we released Salvation, which will be on our 3rd album. really to get Kat out there, to get her voice out there so people can have a listen, because what we didn't want to do was destabilize it or get people to start thinking, here we go again. I mean, the rest, the four lads have been together 7 years odd, and we're generating a lot of good music between us, as he. And so I'm hoping Kat will be with us another 7 years.
We hope so. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Well, Kat, tell us a little bit about your background and what made you want to join the band, and how do you feel sort of singing someone else's song? And I know you're definitely looking for well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but planning a new album already. And this is going to be your chance to do your songs. But how do you accommodate or work with what's already been produced? Because I think your voice would be a natural fit, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I was quite interested in singing when I was at school, and I sort of had a bit of a break really once I left school and went into a career, and it was when I had my daughter that I suddenly thought, actually, I want to do something for myself, and I want to do something that isn't work and isn't being a mum. And that's when I joined choirs, and it sort of all came back, and then it took over really. And I knew I was always going to sing, and family friends and things had asked me to sing at their weddings, and I think I've probably sung at like 9 weddings or something like that, but all for family friends and all random, all different kind of music. And then, yeah, so when Rob said about the band, I suppose I'd never really imagined myself in a band, but as soon as the opportunity came around, it was something I couldn't really say no to. And the minute I met the band and sang with the band, I just absolutely loved it. So I suppose that's why I was so excited. And then in terms of, it is quite daunting singing something that someone else has sung, and obviously with the when you're live, it's like, are people going to be judging me and comparing me? But
hopefully not. Hopefully they'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and you'll give a new perspective to those songs, and they have to be open-minded to that, I hope.
Yeah, and that's where we had a discussion about, when you're rehearsing, it's like, oh, actually I might do it this way, is that all right? And Rob's like, yeah, do it like that. And I think there's a song where I sing it up the octave rather than down, and Rob said, actually I like that, so do that. But yeah, I think I feel really comfortable now that I know the older material as well, because I didn't want to go into the band and record new things but then not be able to sing. If anyone's requesting something, you don't want to be like, oh, we can't do that because Kat doesn't know it. So yeah, a bit daunting to start with, but I don't feel like that anymore. And it's really nice to have Salvation, and it was really nice to perform Salvation as well live, rather than just having the version from the studio.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's talk about this wonderful new album. Asleep at the Wheel is the opening track, and it's a full-on rocker. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, both of you?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, really, the whole album is structured a bit like a live gig.
Yes.
And in fact, to be honest, that's what we did at the show a couple of weeks ago. Because
the whole album?
Yeah, start to finish. Yeah. Including all the funny little nuancy bits as well, So, Asleep at the Wheel, the idea was always to put, as it were, a really punchy, grab them by the throat track at the start of the album. And we do think that this is it with Asleep at the Wheel. And I have to give credit to James here. The riff is very much his riff. And then he and I worked really hard. Took a while actually to structure the whole thing, but it works. And we kind of just knew between us as a band, including Paul and Graham, that had to be the first track on the album, because it just grabs you straight away. You know, no prisoners are taken. It's just bang straight in. And in terms of the subject matter, it's a little bit Shakespearean insofar as you have the king and the fool and the people, but actually it's a comment about, and I'm not going to get political here, but it's just about lack of leadership when people needed it most from a few years ago. And there were some great leaders around the world, but I'm afraid there were also some not so great leaders around the world, and that caused quite a few issues. So, and that's this expression about being asleep at the wheel, and eventually saying in the song that the people should maybe take the wheel here, you know. So yeah, and again in Shakespeare, the fool tends to be the one that actually knows what's going on. So that's the premise of that song. But yeah, for sure, we wanted to grab people by the throat in a nice way, and draw them straight into the album, and really sort of, especially bearing in mind we hadn't released for 7 years, and the reason for that, well, partly it was 2 or 3 years was COVID, so we did a few bits and bobs, and prior to that we had actually released our live album Cairo live in Holland. That was in early 2020, but then of course COVID happened and we couldn't do any gigs. We were going to go around Europe. That just didn't happen. It all stopped. So we did a few YouTube videos, are out there, you know, that sort of thing, lockdown videos, that sort of thing. But we used the time to write. But yeah, after 7 years, we thought you've got to start with an absolute belter of a song and bring people in with an epic, not too epic, it's about 8 minutes or something, but yeah, something which really grabs you, has a melodic bit, and then grabs you at the end as well. So yeah, that was that one.
Tripwire is.
What I would say is that, by the way,
it's
a real bugger to play live.
I bet.
But it's great. Yeah, when it goes well, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
because you have to do it without a parachute, right? You're absolutely committed to it. But it's great. It's great to play live. We do love playing it live. But you have to steel yourself. You gird your loins before you get going on it, you know. But it went really well, didn't it, Kat, in Milton Keynes a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I remember in rehearsals initially, it was like, but it was that track where I was thinking, I know I have to come in here. Where do I come in? And but you know, once we rehearsed, then you've got your head.
Yeah. And Graham did a tremendous job. I mean, you're so reliant upon Graham, you know, drumming as per the album and keeping it absolutely just so. And he did a fantastic job, not on the album, but live a couple of weeks ago. And of course, Paul has to remain hooked in. And I think as long as the bass and the drums are hooked in, yeah, the melodic guys, who we have an easier life, they always say, we're okay, you know. So as long as the bass of the music is rooted in and it's going for it, then it works. So yeah, it's really good fun. So yeah, that's the first track on the album. So a little bit of a comment about lack of leadership globally a few years ago.
It's a good, yeah, you really cover it well. And we had one of those leaders over here too, which hopefully he's done, but he keeps trying. Tripwire, excellent. I guess it's a gang vocal. You'll have to explain that to us a little bit. But John Mitchell's just, he's on everyone's album, and everyone wants him on his album. He's just incredible. And he's producing albums. He's in, I don't know how many bands anymore.
He's annoyingly talented. No, Mark, he's brilliant. Great friend is John, and I said to John, I want to do this kind of whoa at the start, you know, and he said, "Oh, do you want a hand with that?" I said, "Well, yeah, I could do it, just more people doing it." So we just did it together and did the various harmonies, and you can always hear that his tone in it, because I just wanted something that, as time goes on, once people know it, then out in the crowd, in the stadiums, that they all, you know, that they all sing it, because it's that kind of thing. Coldplay are good at that sort of thing, but you know what I mean? It's just that kind of getting everyone involved in it. So I try to think live when I write a little bit, those bits that the crowds can get into. So, but yeah, that song Tripwire, it's really about, it might even relate to the kind of person you're talking about, but those people that they take you so far and you nod patiently and go along with it, but then something flicks in your mind and you just had totally enough and you go a bit crazy. So it's a little bit like that. It's about those people in life that just, you know, you can put up with so much and there's a point at which you go, I've had enough of this. You can go a bit nuts. So that's that's what that's about.
How do you like singing it, Kat? Your part.
Yeah, I love it. I was saying to Rob not that long ago that it was the one that was playing in my car quite a lot, and then I overheard my daughter singing it in the shower, and I think
That tells you it's good.
Yeah, like an earworm. It was just. I said to her, "Are you singing Tripwire?" She said, "I don't know." So.
And how old is she, Kat?
9.
9. So because I have to say that
Don't
this
worry.
is classic. This is classic, Mark, right?
Yeah.
For the first time, I've been writing music a very, very long time, and I've always avoided swear words, right? Because I'm a clean living boy and all that. But having said that, for the first time in my writing career, I used the S 4-letter word in it. And so apparently Kat could hear her daughter singing with a little S word coming in. I'm going, oh no, what have I done? You know, what have I done?
Is what she's singing.
Hey.
She doesn't know.
Yeah. But I think you said that it was a song about a boat, a ship. So it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but it's,
it's
sorry,
good
go
to
on,
hear
Mark.
another generation is interested. That is excellent. That's what every musician wants to hear.
Certainly is.
Anything else you guys want to say about that one?
Tripwire. It's just a good old rocker, isn't it, really? And
It
it
is.
sounds like it's a guitar-based song. And it is a guitar-based song, but to be fair, I wrote that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm just a frustrated guitarist. So I did buy a real guitar, a core guitar. But at the end of the day, you know, I could strum a few chords and do a little bit. The challenge you have as a keyboard player is you need your, this is going to sound a bit strange, but you need your fingers to be soft. And if
Yeah.
you're playing guitar, they harden up. So what I found was I was playing guitar and I was playing keyboard, my fingers were sliding all over the joint. So I thought you can either be one or the other, but don't try and be both. So I sold my guitar. I've got a keytar back there, and I get some fantastic guitar sounds on my synths. And then James just comes in there and just, you know, he just wipes the wall with me. It's fantastic guitarist. So yeah, all good fun.
All right. You guys talked a little bit about Glow already. But do you want to expound on that? Do you want to talk a little bit more about it, Kat? Because I think that really attracted you, or
I think on the website it was the one that was I was drawn to because there was the video, and also that I think it's just that there was obviously it's all female lead, and it was it just as soon as I heard it I loved it, and it was my sister and I that were listening to it, and then Rob said like have a go at it, and I think we did our own little recording just so that I had something I could hear myself on, and then when we met with the band, we sang that one. But I just really enjoy singing that one. I love the way it builds up, and when the whole band comes in, it's a really nice feeling.
In fact, Kat nailed it. She's being very polite. She nailed it first time, first go with the band. Absolutely nailed it.
that is awesome.
And the contrast with that song is that song is about, as it were, the quiet majority just getting on, right? And it's a bit more of a hopeful song about, look, you know, speak to your neighbour, or make sure your elderly person's okay, or just, you know, show a bit of kindness to each other after everything we've been through.
Yes.
A few years ago, or even now, you know, let's just try to be a little bit more, how are you doing? You know, just a bit more understanding to each other, that bonhomie thing, you know. So that is a bit more about, there's 2 underlying themes in the album, and that's one of the other ones is about, you know, that really the 2 themes are that we, the human race, is its own worst enemy. That's the Nemesis bit. We really are absolute shockers to ourselves and our Mother Earth, who looks after us, and yet would we treat our mother like that? And that's going to mention the album. But the other side is that the hope thing is that we do have the ability to love, in all its different forms, and so that's, you know, that's a little bit mentioned in Glow in a way. So that's that.
No, it's a beautiful song.
Thanks, Mark.
We're about to run out of time here on this First
Wow.
one, I think they're gonna. I hope they're gonna stick with me here, and we'll do a part two. And this time we'll just open it up for them to talk about their favorite songs. And I'm just trying to pair out this last couple of seconds here. But boy,